In today's video, we're going to be going over multiple major storms that are on the way. We're going to be going over severe weather implications and some wintry weather implications with those storms, as well as the upcoming solar eclipse. Let's go ahead and dive into things. And as we take a look at tomorrow afternoon when the eclipse will be happening, we see that not a lot of areas underneath the direct path will be seeing rainfall. Thankfully, the main areas where we would be concerned about that is going to be for Texas, which is going to be pretty close, and then also areas of Ohio and Pennsylvania in here. But outside of that, it does appear clear as far as rainfall. We will take a look at the cloud cover a little bit later on. It's important to note that these are likely thunderstorms isolated and scattered about throughout Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana there, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and through the Smoky Mountains. Let's just move this towards Tuesday for the day on April 9th, and what we see is this area of thunderstorms and showers expands. Okay, so we see New Mexico, almost all of Texas, Oklahoma, all of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, portions of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Wow, that's a mouthful, and that's a lot of states to be seeing this type of activity. So certainly pretty big area that we're looking at these impacts taking place, and it's really all made due possible by this surge of Gulf air happening here over these Gulf states. No huge surprises here. It does fluctuate time and time again, but we see this bowing out of these lines indicative of air pushing northward from the Gulf of Mexico into these areas. So you're getting that moisture, that heat, and overall that instability that comes with all of that. By the time we take a look at Wednesday, we see a low pressure system develops from all of this, a 999 in between Texas and Louisiana, likely featuring a cold front underneath. So my main area I'm going to be watching for severe weather would be underneath this low, but honestly, everywhere kind of pretty close to this low is going to be of concern. We do have a very small trough behind this, causing some cooler air to move in. And we still see this surge of warmth out ahead of that low pressure system. So this is allowing for a lot of thunderstorm activity to take place within this area of precipitation. By the time we reach Thursday afternoon, things get very, very intense. A 989 millibar low pressure center over central Kentucky, which is going to be relatively strong for this time of year. Our main area for thunderstorms and severe weather is going to be up and down this southeast coast here, as we have a cold front kind of pushing out ahead of things. So that area there is where I am watching for the best chance of severe weather and thunderstorms. But still, pretty much everywhere in this area of precipitation needs to be on high alert, as thunderstorms will be possible, if not heavy rainfall and showers. So expect impacts regardless. Our jet stream is doing a very sharp climb here once it reaches into the Ohio Valley, just where that low is. So we are seeing a massive surge of warm and even hot weather for some areas where these thunderstorms are happening. So I do expect Thursday to be a pretty big day for that. Also notice this pretty narrow trough behind things. So we have the warm air surging out ahead. We have the cold air diving out behind, and overall your jet stream is doing this. So a big trough behind things and a big ridge to the east of them. By the time we reach Friday afternoon, we see this low is all the way down to 980 millibars, which is extremely strong, and it really causes widespread precipitation throughout northeastern United States and southeastern Canada here. We do have another storm system coming onshore to the northwest, a 990 millibar over Idaho, and this is causing some rainfall and snowfall respectively for different locations there. Let's see what kind of transpires by Saturday. We see our low for Canada is surging northward, bringing less and less impacts to the United States as it climbs northward there. Our low over the southwest now has gone ahead and moved southward, bringing some snowfall to California and Nevada, rainfall to other areas. And by the time we reach Sunday, we see all of this low pressure is moving eastward over the plains, and we can start to expect development around this low, especially with the setup where we have a big trough out west and then a really, really decent ridge over the east. Expect very warm, unseasonably warm weather for these areas, certainly going to be above normal temperatures. By Monday, we see all of this kind of coming together. Our primary low to the north at 989 millibars and then 1,000 down here in Oklahoma. Could see some thunderstorm activity, especially along this southern secondary low for the southern plains in through areas of the deeper south. Going to be something to watch there. And by Tuesday, we see it really ramping up. We have a 984 there over Canada, a stretching cold front here, especially for the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. I would be on high alert for thunderstorm activity and potentially severe weather here in Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and probably moving into Pennsylvania and New York as well. Underneath all of this, although it's further away from the low, I would say expect potential thunderstorms down here as well. Keep in mind, we do have a dual system of low pressure systems here, 1005 over Canada, 1002 over Colorado, and these are bringing some snowfall and rainfall again, respectively, depending on your elevation. But by the time we're reaching Wednesday morning, and this is the end of the model run, by the way, so we won't be able to get any further than this, we do see a strengthening low over Nebraska and Kansas. It's at 1,000 millibars, and we're seeing that warm front develop out ahead of things. And basically, all we need to see happen is a cold front to develop underneath with cold air rushing in, and we would have a severe weather setup here for a lot of the plains into the deeper south once again. So we'll be watching that very closely for some time after the 15th. Let's move on to the GFS model. We get storm number 1 moving through right there. Looks very similar. Storm number 2 takes a lot longer on this, but it does have agreement that there is going to be likely thunderstorm activity a lot further north than what we've been seeing, with a cold front stretching through some of the Midwest and Ohio Valley there. This low is just drastically different as far as location. We saw our low on the European model much closer to kind of the Great Lakes, but we're seeing it over the northern plains and upper Midwest. So a couple hundred miles of difference there between the GFS and the European model. Let's keep going, and we do get another storm system with a stretching cold front here, 996 over Wisconsin for the 19th. With a cold front extending all the way down to the Gulf Coast of Texas, and we would be watching for thunderstorms and severe weather all the way along it. Although I will say that this northern corridor does seem more juiced here just because of this kind of infusion of very cold air behind things, alongside that insertion of just really warm air out ahead of things. After that, we get a lot quieter, other than a couple of minor systems moving through the deeper south and the eastern states here. This one happens to move up like this, bringing thunderstorms the whole way along. Don't expect this to look exactly like this, as this is a very long-range model, and we can see changes for sure. Total precipitation tells the full story. The Northwest, in general, a lot of the West, they're seeing some pretty decent precipitation. Same story with the northern plains and upper Midwest here. But the real story is when you take that south central states all the way up the East Coast, where we see highly above average precipitation for probably like the 5th or 6th week in a row here. Very interesting. Let's take a look at the total snowfall. No surprise, the West is seeing a ton, and the East is not. Should I say more? I don't really think so. The GFS model happens to agree, outside of the fact that it has some northern plains and upper Midwest snowfall, which I've mentioned in previous videos isn't that far-fetched for this time of year, although I'm thinking that it's a little bit less likely than what this model seems to be indicating, and I have to side with the European model here, that at least for the time being, I don't anticipate any major north central snowfall, although things can change and we'd still have a couple of weeks, maybe even a little bit more of opportunity for snowfall in these areas. Now, your temperature pattern, we see these fluctuations, but I think the main story here is mostly warm in the east, okay? So we get warm up number 1 here in a couple days, and that one lasts quite a bit. We get a brief cool down here around Thursday, Friday time frame, but by the time we reach Sunday, we're already in a full-blown really warm pattern again for the central and eastern states, with a deep digging trough out west. So I think the overall trend here is warmth in the east for a majority of the next 10 days. Even the next 15 days, I would say, is likely. Here's by Wednesday the 17th, we're still seeing this pretty vibrant warm up here in the east, still holding on, and we see this cold air really not going anywhere for the west. So this looks like the pattern moving forward for at least a couple of weeks. Cloud cover. This is exactly when the eclipse will be happening, and some of the best areas to be as of now would be in this kind of upper Midwest, northern plains territory, or should I say central plains, better yet. The northern plains, no good. South central states looking no good. And even some of the deeper south here and Ohio Valley looking no good. The other good area to be would maybe be in this corridor near Buffalo, New York, and Erie, Pennsylvania could be decent, although this is pretty sketchy because we have a lot of clouds close by, so things can drastically change. But by far the best area to be to view this eclipse in the path of totality would be northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and northern Maine, in my opinion, where things look very, very clear, and I don't expect any huge changes between today and tomorrow there. These other areas, there's so many clouds close by, I could see things being a little bit more cloudy than predicted for sure, and even over Pennsylvania, New York, it appears like there's going to be some clouds regardless, just not total cloud cover. So the only two areas that look like they could be clear is here in the plains through the upper Midwest, and then again those northern New England states. So keep that in mind. Let's roll through the Storm Prediction Center outlooks here for the next few days. I had a couple of comments asking about this, and I think we should implement these daily as we're in the time of year for severe weather. We do have a general thunderstorm risk for today over areas of Nevada, Oregon, Idaho here, and also we have this pretty large area across the central states experiencing some general thunderstorms in the light green. Darker green here is going to be your marginal risk or level 1 risk, quote unquote. Also the slight risk here, very small area over the borders of Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, and Missouri. I never really realized how close all 5 of those states are to each other right there, but they really are close. I mean, you could drive through all of them in what seems like maybe 2 hours. You could probably hit all 5 states there. Really, really cool stuff. Let's move to the day 2 outlook here. And as we take a look, we see things get a lot more serious as we have a general thunderstorm risk in the lighter green areas. Darker green is that marginal level 1 risk, like I mentioned, and we have a very large slight risk, which is going to be your level 2 area for a lot of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Let's take a look at day 3, and it looks pretty similar, just a little bit further south as everything's kind of staying pretty stagnant. General thunderstorm risk, again in that lighter green. Darker green is that marginal risk, and your yellow is once again the slight risk. And let's take a look at the extended range, because we do have a couple things to talk about. They don't do all the levels beyond day 3. They just kind of do the slight risk and then the enhanced risk area. And as of now, they're at least calling for a slight risk in this yellow area or level 2. That's what this 15% chance translates to. Oftentimes it does shift a little bit as it is in the long range, but their general thinking is that there will be a slight risk here for the deeper south. And on day 5, that shifts eastward to the southeast for areas of Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and southern North Carolina. So keep that in mind. We have multiple days with at least a decent chance of severe weather. I would say the next 4 or 5 days in a row. So definitely keep that in mind and pay attention, guys. This is a dangerous time of year, and we want to be really, really aware of what's going on. Anyway, we upload every single day, weather uploads just like this one. So be sure to subscribe for those daily videos. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.